Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I will give us a couple minutes for people to join on, and then we will get started.
I'm so sorry that my stuff is not working. I think part of it is my internet reception here.
Yeah, it could be, Debbie. It could be. I see people are hopping on, so we'll take about one more minute. I know sometimes when the webinars start, it takes people a little bit to log on in. People have to get their lunches.
Oh.
All right, we'll wait one more second. All right. All right. Good morning. Oh, actually, afternoon. Now it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us for our virtual United Way Greater Nashville's virtual tour Tuesday. My name is Heather Hill, and I am a part of our workplace engagement team. And I have the pleasure of working with our Tour Tuesday series. Tour Tuesday is just an opportunity for folks like you just to get an inside look at the great work that's happening right here in our community through United Way's partner agencies. For fellow nonprofit staff, this is a great way to learn about other services and service providers and programs that might be beneficial to your clients. And for those looking just to get involved, it's a great way just to hear about our current volunteer and engagement opportunities. And for our United Way donors, this is a fabulous opportunity to hear from the agencies who are putting your dollars to work right here in our community. I will have a housekeeping reminder. If everyone please will just remind you, mute yourselves. That way there won't be any distractions as we're hearing the speakers and watching their awesome presentations. So while we do hope to one day be in person again for our tours, we are happy to be able to continue and offer our virtual series. Each tour features agencies and programs from across the greater Nashville region as we come together to discuss the current community conditions. And during today's tour, we'll be discussing how these partners connect older adults to support and services that improve their health and quality of life. And we have the privilege of being joined by representatives from 3 of our wonderful partner agencies today. We'll hear from Mid-Cumberland Human Resource Agency Meals on Wheels program, Senior Ride Nashville, and FiftyForward. Now, at the end of the session today, you'll have the opportunity to ask any questions to our panelists through our Q&A box. So just please hold on to those fantastic questions until the end. Now, at this time, I would like to go ahead and introduce our panelists and let them tell you a little bit more about their roles, their organizations, and what services that they provide right here in our community. And first, we'll start with Debbie Rainey. She is with Mid-Cumberland Human Resource Agency Meals on Wheels. Debbie, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry I'm not here so I can be seen.
I know. Well, Debbie, tell us a little bit about your program, what services you provide, the region that your services reign, and then the outcomes that you are seeing.
So we cover the 13 counties that surround Davidson County. We serve people who are over the age of 60, who are frail and not really able to prepare themselves a nutritious lunch. I always tell everyone that you could be Howard Hughes and still receive Meals on Wheels. It's not about your financial status. It's about your ability to stand up at your stove and fix a hot, nutritious meal. I cover 6 counties of the 13. So I think our total meal service every week in my area is about 4,100 meals. That includes everyone getting 1 meal a day for 5 days out of the week. We do not serve weekend meals. We also connect homebound elderly to the outside community. A lot of times those homebound elderly, the volunteer that comes to their home is the only person they see outside of themselves every day. So those volunteers are the connector. So that's kind of what we do.
Well, that is short and sweet and simple. I love Meals on Wheels program. I too. I feel like it is a good way just to go. And sometimes those seniors, they do appreciate the meals, but they love that interaction that you can give and the visit. So thank you, Debbie, so much. Next, we will hear from Carrie Brumfield, and she is with Senior Ride Nashville. Welcome, Carrie, and thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Such a pleasure to be here. I'm going to share my screen so I can share some slides with you all. All right. Well, thank you again, Heather. It's a real pleasure to be able to share about Senior Ride Nashville with the United Way community. Senior Ride Nashville is a young and growing organization here in the Davidson County area. We were formed just a few years ago out of a long recognized need for friendly, affordable transportation options for older adults. Currently, Nashville has over 30,000 residents aged 75 or older. This population is the most likely to have serious health conditions that limit their ability to drive safely. Adults often live 6 to 10 years after they stop driving. So that's a long time to where without affordable and assisted options for transportation, that you might not have access to medical appointments, to grocery store visits, and to the community. And in that case, you would have poor health, isolation, loneliness, and depression. Back in 2015, Age Well of Middle Tennessee convened what they called the Senior Transportation Leadership Coalition. And this was a group comprised of stakeholders representing both the senior and transportation communities. And Gretchen Funk and the FiftyForward community were very involved in that initiative. That coalition spent over 2 years researching other models that existed throughout the country and really identifying and pinpointing the need here in Davidson County and how it could best be addressed. As a result, Senior Ride Nashville launched in 2017 as a new 501c3 nonprofit organization. And what we do is connect older adults who no longer drive with volunteers who do. Services are provided on a Monday through Friday basis, which offers access to those most essential needs for our older adult community. A high-level glance, Senior Ride was modeled after other senior volunteer transportation programs. Volunteers are absolutely the heart and soul of this program. We could not do this work without the support of the volunteer community here in the Nashville area. Volunteers do use their own vehicles to provide transportation to eligible riders. And we do provide door-through-door service as needed. And that's just another distinction between our ride program and other transportation options like taxi cab services, Uber and Lyft, is that our volunteers are able and willing to meet our riders at the door, to help them through the door. You know, maybe they're carrying bags to the car, maybe they need some assistance to navigate some tricky stairs, and that's what our volunteers are there for and happy to assist with. And to tell you a little bit about the wonderful volunteers here at Senior Ride Nashville and why they choose to volunteer their time with us. We do provide volunteer training to everyone that comes on board with us, and our volunteers are highly supported by the operations team. Each of our volunteers complete background checks, which would include both driving and criminal history. And once they're all trained up and ready to begin accepting rides, they are able to select a ride that works for them. They have access to an online scheduling platform where they can see all of the available trips, and they may choose to select a ride based on geography because somebody in their neighborhood is going to the same grocery store, and why not take a neighbor along with you and help them out while you're doing your weekly grocery shopping. We also see a lot of people that specifically like to take medical appointments or any other destinations. One other thing that is special about the program is the opportunity to make real connections between the volunteer and those that they're serving. And so we do often see drivers make repeated trips to riders within the program and build relationships that way. And there certainly is a lot of benefit, the satisfaction of helping older adults with that mobility need and helping them access the community and medical appointments and so much more. We do also provide mileage reimbursement when requested. Our riders are age 60 years or older, no longer driving or driving seldomly. We have a lot of people in the program who are very comfortable driving to their neighborhood market, but when it's time to get to a downtown appointment, that could be overwhelming. And so that's where Senior Ride Nashville comes in. Our riders are also able to transfer in and out of a vehicle with limited assistance. This is a membership-based service, so membership is required. We are not an on-demand service. We do require at least 1 week notice for all trip requests. And so that allows us some time to work with the volunteers to make sure that each and every ride is filled. A rider becomes a member by calling the Senior Ride Nashville office or visiting our website to obtain application forms. Once those application forms are received, we will complete an in-home assessment, partnering with our friends at FiftyForward. And we do ask for a $25 annual membership fee for each rider, as well as a $6 round trip fee. I will say the membership fee is one that we will waive if that is a barrier for anyone for entering the program. So essentially, we are an affordable, assisted, volunteer-powered transportation service, offering mobility options to older adults who no longer drive but deserve to stay connected to the community. This allows them to obtain essential services and maintain dignity, and in many cases, they are also able to age in place. Of course, the COVID pandemic has required that we make several adaptations to the model, and we now follow CDC guidelines that are specific to rideshare programs. We ask that, or we require that all volunteers and riders stay masked in the vehicle at all times. Our volunteer drivers are given cleaning supplies to wipe down the vehicle before and after, and we're monitoring those guidelines very closely and adapting when needed. Since our launch in 2017, we've enrolled over 500 riders. Currently, we have about 300 riders in the program. We have currently about 95 drivers, And to date, we have completed nearly 18,000 rides. Our current service area includes these destinations on the map that are more colorful. So our long-term goal is to expand the program countywide, and we will do that as we are able to recruit volunteers and expand our capacity to meet those needs. So we're currently in West Nashville, East Nashville, Madison, Donaldson, Old Hickory, and Hermitage. We are currently gearing up for some expansion planning projects so that we can start bridging that gap between the East and the West, and then filling out the rest of the county in the coming years. Our top destinations include medical appointments as the number one, grocery stores is number two, and number three is community centers, but that's becoming neck and neck with beauty appointments. We take a lot of people to their weekly appointments. And we so often hear the phrase, it's more than just a ride. Debbie talked about that connection between the volunteer and the client. And that's certainly the case here with Senior Ride Nashville. Oftentimes, this volunteer that is providing the ride is the only face that our rider may see in that day. And it provides just such a sense of connection for our riders, and we're so glad that we get to hear about that. And I know our volunteers hear about that directly as well. I will look forward to answering any questions later on in the Q&A section. Thanks again.
Thank you, Carrie. That is amazing. I was not as familiar with that program. Such an amazing, and would love, the big picture, would love to see it also in some of the other, I know Davidson County is a big county, but hopefully in time we can see it rolling out in some of our other service county areas. So such a great program. Thank you. And then last we'll hear from Gretchen Funk. She is with our 50Forward program. Welcome, Gretchen, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Gretchen Funk, I'm the Chief Program Officer here at 50Forward. And like Carrie, I'm going to also share my screen. Just one sec. Alrighty. Great, so 50Forward. First of all, we are very grateful to the United Way for all of the support you provide to us, and very happy to be able to talk and have this virtual tour, which actually will allow us to show you a lot of 50Forward in a way that an in-person tour would be hard across our centers and programs. So 50Forward, trying to advance my slides, hold on a sec. And they're advancing in one area and not the other. There we go. So we are a nonprofit. We were established in 1956, so celebrated our 65th birthday last year. And our mission is to support, champion, and enhance life for those 50 and older. Again, trying to figure out how I advance. Sorry, it's taking me a second. I'm going to stop. I do not know why one of my screens is advanced. There we go. I don't know how I'm missing this. So when I talk about 50Forward, I like to talk about the three ways in which we serve older adults. One is through our lifelong learning centers, and I'll talk about each of these a little bit in future slides. Second is through our volunteer opportunities. And then third is through various supportive care programs that we offer. 50Forward, as we all know, is serving a demographic, like everyone on this call, that is growing. And Carrie had some statistics as well about older adults. Something I just wanted to point out from this slide is that in Tennessee, there are certain challenges related to access to service. And we also realize that older adults are competing in some ways with other individuals who equally need services and care. We are there to advocate for older adults. That's our role. And we often find that older adults and their families are unprepared for costs of care. So those are some of the things we work on with older adults. and their families. Sorry, some of my slides are advancing and some are not. So my next slide, which is not coming up for some reason, talks about our lifelong learning centers. I'm so sorry that I'm having technical difficulties here. I am going to stop sharing and start sharing in a different way. Sorry.
You're good, Gretchen.
Here.
We're used to it. We're in that world these days.
Right. Thank you. And this, I know you are not seeing in the right way, but this might be the best I can do. So our lifelong learning centers are located in Davidson and Williamson counties. You can see there are 7 locations, and all of these locations have a different flavor, sort of based upon the membership that attends the centers. At all the centers, we offer a range of programming. So older adults that are retired, that want to stay active and involved in the communities, they come in and participate in educational offerings, social and recreational offerings, lifelong learning, lots of fitness goes on at all of our centers. So you can see in one of these photos, people enjoying a get together, and in another, there's a gardening group. So really a different flavor to each center. And older adults, when they join 50Forward, they're able to go to any center. And so we have calendars and activities available on our website so people can plan where they would like to go and what they would like to participate in. Having technical difficulties. The second way that we serve older adults is through volunteer opportunities and community engagement. I know we'll talk a little bit more about volunteers with a future question, but our programs really look at service to the community, and then also the benefit that the older adults themselves get from the volunteer engagement. Some of that was what Carrie had talked about as well. And then the third way that we serve older adults is through our supportive care services. So we all hope to age in a certain way and be able to manage our needs independently or with the help of family. Sometimes things happen in life that relate to income or functional ability that mean that we need additional assistance. And so our supportive care programs, that I have a slide on each of these, aim to assist older adults to have the highest quality of life, well-being, empower them to live on their own as long as possible. And we do that in a variety of ways. And I appreciate the chance to talk about that today, because I think we recognize that older adults have a particular barrier sometimes to access to services. So United Way helps us share information about what 50Forward offers. And everyone watching this webinar, I'm glad that you're able to learn more about us as well. So you can let us know if there's someone in your life that we can help. So the first service I'm going to talk about is Living at Home Care Management. So that's a program available in both Davidson and Williamson counties. And it is a no-cost program supporting adults 50 and older. And we really connect people to essential needs through that program. So Senior Ride is a place that we connect folks to, but individuals are able to meet with a care manager, have an individual plan of care developed in collaboration with the older adult, and then we connect people to services and monitor that they receive the services that they need. Second program, which is also a care management model, is called Victory Over Crime. So that is a program that works exclusively in Davidson County and works with older adults that have been victims of crime in the previous 12 months. And it's an intensive care management program that connects those older adults with any kinds of services they need that might be related to the crime. So really helping to stabilize life for those individuals. Often when we work with older adults that have been victimized, there might be a lifelong cycle of abuse or neglect that has gone on. So our social service professionals really spend a lot of time helping people to both overcome that victimization and to develop harm reduction plans for themselves. Next supportive care program that we offer is Adult Day Service. So older adults sometimes in their aging journey come to a place where they cannot remain alone at home safely during the day. So our Adult Day Service model brings people together in a way that decreases isolation and helps to promote functioning. So in our program, which is located here across from the fairgrounds at this 50Forward location, we serve older adults in a very comprehensive way, in a way that supports both their caregivers and them. So you can see here a couple of photos from that program. That program is open Monday through Friday at this point, very full day that people can participate in. We have both no cost slots in that program and sliding fee slots, because really these kinds of needs can arise across income levels, sort of as Debbie said, related to the home delivered meals. We think that adult day service is going to be a growing service that people will want to access as we look at various ways that we can serve our older adult loved ones. Some people might choose residential care for their loved ones that have memory impairment. Some might want to have them remain at home and still need to be employed themselves. So adult day offers a really great opportunity for those caregivers. Next, I'm going to talk about our 50Forward Fresh Meals on Wheels program. So a model similar to what Debbie mentioned. 50Forward Fresh operates in Davidson County. So we serve pre-COVID, we served about 70 individuals a day with home delivered meals. We're a little bit lower right now with that number because we're serving people in different ways related to food access. So we have meals that are delivered by caring volunteers every day to a variety of different routes in the community. And sort of as Debbie had said as well, these are folks that have some barrier to accessing healthy prepared meals. It might relate to income and functional ability. It might relate to isolation, but you can see here we partner with the National Food Project, and the picture on the right shows our very healthy and nutritious meals, an example of the salads that we offer. And the program is as much about the connection of those daily volunteer visits as it is about the nutrition that people receive. Next program I'm going to talk about is our care team program. So I actually came on board 11 years ago at 50Forward to start this program. We recognized that regardless of finances, people needed professional guidance around elder care needs. So our living at home programs work with individuals with lower income at no cost. Our care team program works with families and older adults that are able to purchase care and still would like that guidance around making the best choices, whether it be selecting in-home services or choosing a residential facility. We help to make sure that families really have a comprehensive assessment of what the needs of the older adult are. So they might be coming to us thinking they need one thing, maybe transportation, and we're able to point out that there are some other needs that they could also address to make sure that everyone has peace of mind around the care of their loved one. I'm almost done. The next program that we have is our conservatorship program. So that is a program that operates Davidson, Williamson, and the surrounding counties. Again, we are not sure how any of us will age, and sometimes an individual will get to the point where they can no longer make safe or appropriate decisions for themselves due to cognitive, physical disabilities. In that instance, both the medical professional and the court will decide that the person needs a conservator or a guardian. So at 50Forward, we consider ourselves guardians of last resort in that we would like family members to be able to care for their families in this way, but sometimes a third party needs to step in, like 50Forward, if there's no family available or the family can't agree on the best course of action for a loved one, or sometimes we step in when the issue is that the family has been involved in exploitation of the older adult. So this is a program where our staff are on call 24/7, responding just like a family member would when there is a need. It's a very big honor to be able to serve families in this way. We also offer additional services for caregivers. We have a variety of support groups. And last year we launched this Powerful Tools for Caregivers support group, recognizing that both the older adult and the caregivers are often older adults themselves actually, need support and care in order to be able to have the best quality of life for themselves and also support their loved ones. And then lastly, I'm going to mention 50Forward's partnership with the National Institutes of Health. So we are a partner nationally representing older adults in this longitudinal health study, which seeks to enroll 1 million Americans over the course of 10 years to study their individual health and move towards precision medicine. So to move away from one solution fitting everyone to looking at everybody's diverse background and needs and social determinants of health, to come up with the best solutions for individuals. So we are there because older adults have historically been underrepresented in medical research, and FiftyForward's aim is to advocate for older adults and be sure that they're at the table and that their needs are considered. So across the nation, we are sharing best practices around engagement of older adults, and we use a peer engagement model. So we have a group of peer ambassadors who talk with their within their circles of influence and across our centers about this program. So that in a nutshell is FiftyForward. And I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm going to stop sharing, but thank you.
Oh, you are fine. That is another just fantastic services that you all provide. And I love how each organization collaborates with one another. I mean, you've referenced Senior Ride Nashville, you've referenced Meals on Wheels, and how we all just work together and we bring the community together. That's what it's all about. So thank you so much, Gretchen. And I know each one of you touched on volunteerism, and Carrie, you really hit it on there. But I do, volunteering is such a big part, especially for nonprofits. And I know you mentioned a lot of it, but could you go back and just talk a little bit about how we can get connected? What would we need to do? Because hopefully some people that are joining us today, if they want to be engaged within the community and needing to be a part of the Senior Ride Nashville, tell a little bit how one could go about getting involved.
Certainly. So there are a few ways that you could volunteer with Senior Ride Nashville. The greatest number of volunteers that work with us are those volunteer drivers. And so we're just looking for individuals that are able to commit to a minimum of 2 rides a month. And a ride can be anywhere from a one-way trip, could be as short as 30 minutes. The longest trip that we allow for a round trip for one volunteer would be 3 hours. So 3 hours would be the greatest commitment for any one trip. And to get involved, you can go to seniorridenashville.org, and there's a tab at the top for volunteer that will give you some information about upcoming training dates and other details. If you're not able to serve as a volunteer driver or feel that that's not a good fit for you, but still want to support the work of Senior Ride Nashville, we are seeking 1 to 2 office volunteers that might be able to help us with some administrative work on a regular basis, and we could work with those volunteers to determine what that schedule might look like. I think that work could be done remotely, that work could be done in the office with Senior Ride. Otherwise, as a young organization, still gaining recognition within the community, we could always use the support of the community to help spread the word about Senior Ride Nashville. So following us on Facebook, on Instagram, signing up for one of our newsletters also really helps us to grow within the community and help reach others that don't already know about Senior Ride Nashville.
Great, thank you. And just to let you all know that all of our attendees today, and I'll probably say this at the end too, but they will receive your contact information, so that way they can go and reach out further should they want to, try to volunteer and get engaged with each of your organizations. So Gretchen, I know again you did mention on it about your volunteer programs and just the importance of the community partnerships and the role the volunteers play. Can you expand a little bit more on that, and maybe again just address on how one would want to get involved if they wanted to volunteer?
Great, sure, thank you. I did mention that volunteerism is really one of the 3 major ways that we engage older adults. And to expand a little on that, we offer a few very formal volunteer opportunities. So we are partners with the AmeriCorps Senior Program, that Peace Corps kind of program that engages seniors in activities. We have a retired senior volunteer program through AmeriCorps. Under that, we have it's called the Friends Learning in Pairs program, and it pairs older adult volunteers with children in the Williamson County and Davidson County school systems who are underperforming in math or reading. And those tutors meet with them regularly and really help them to move forward in their math and reading and form really beautiful relationships. That retired senior volunteer program also provides volunteer service in our centers. So we have volunteers manning our front desks, leading activities, instructing different of our classes. And then all of our 50Forward fresh meals are delivered by volunteers, and many of them are associated with this retired senior volunteer effort that we have. Also under our AmeriCorps programs, we have a foster grandparent program. So that pairs 55 older adults with really intensive service in the community. It's very amazing when I first learned about this program more. So those 55 older adults during the school year, and some of them during the summer in the childcare centers, work with children from 4 years old to 4th grade. And their commitment is Monday through Thursday for 5 hours a day. So that's a big commitment. Many of our volunteers are in their 80s making that commitment going into the schools. Of course, COVID is an asterisk around everything, but we're getting back into those programs and working with the ones that are able to support us still. So those are amazing volunteer opportunities. And then I mentioned the All of Us research program. So our model there is to engage older adults who are interested in talking with their peers about medical research and the importance of giving back to your community and leaving a legacy for the future through participating in studies like All of Us. So that's been a really amazing way to get, retired researchers from Vanderbilt back involved. And I will go to some of those activities and I might be at a booth talking to 5 people, and I look behind me and the older adult peer ambassador is still talking, really in depth to the one person who will then sign up for the program, because older adults really can take the time and have that patience to meet someone as a peer. So we really think, volunteers are so, so important to the work that we do.
Thank you. Thank you. And then Debbie, Debbie, can you unmute? You're like, no. There you are. There you are. There you are.
So Sally, no matter how bad your technical difficulties are, they look wonderful compared to mine. So you should be good to go. Our volunteers, as we say every day, our program would not operate without our volunteers. I mean, 1 in 6 of the elderly in Tennessee are hungry every day, and our volunteers are going into those homes. One of the greatest things they do, I think, is report back to the local site managers and let those local staff people understand and know that there are other things going on in that home that may be even more food necessity than what we even suspect. Last week in one of my counties, we had a lady who called our site manager crying because she was not able to stand up to even get to her door, to open the door for the volunteer to come in. And they truly had to call the fire department to get into her. They discovered or thought that she had been sitting on her couch since Thursday, when the last day she got a meal delivery, and had no food since Thursday. So volunteers get to know the people they deliver to. They understand when there's things that are different. They're able to report back and let our staff know that we need to take a step further to do something for people they're serving. It is so, our volunteers do not get any kind of reimbursement. One of the volunteers said one time her reimbursement was just to see a smile from someone who wanted food. Our volunteers are background checked. They are dependable. They come back with some of the funniest stories you ever hear. It makes the whole system work. And across all of our 13 counties, those volunteers are on the ground and our partnerships with United Way, with all the other United Way agencies that we know we can call and get other assistance for people. That is so vital to our program. So I know in Williamson County, a lot of our counties have waiting lists for people to even get on the Meals on Wheels program. And in Williamson County, we're lucky enough that we do not have that. And a lot of that is because of United Way. So we appreciate so much people who, through their workplace campaigns, give to United Way to help the people in their community they never get to see.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. And you always have some of the best stories sharing with us. I love to hear the wonderful opportunities and the stories that you share. So thank you. So just looking forward, our Greater Nashville, the community we've adjusted a lot in response to the pandemic, and how we've adapted programs. So talk a little bit about maybe how your programs have adapted since the pandemic and changes that will continue going forward. Maybe share some of the silver linings that you all have seen and what you're hoping to achieve. Maybe in this next year. We did think that this is going to be one different year than the past two. And then, some other just mishaps of COVID have come up, but just share the silver linings about that. And we'll start with Gretchen, if you'll start this conversation.
Sure. And I think being in the nonprofit sector, you have to see silver linings. That is definitely something that it's wonderful to work with the partners we work with, because people do have an optimistic attitude. We have to be that way to work with our clients in order to promote that with them. So I think our service model changed very, very much. We were an in-person direct service provider at FiftyForward. So all of our services changed a lot. And really, we were able, silver lining wise, to connect with people in different ways. We expanded use of a resource line. So we really set up something that had been used in a different way, but we really magnified its use during COVID. And it has continued as a line where anybody with any kind of older adult related call could call in, and we staff it every day. And the people that staff it are FiftyForward staff who can direct you to the right place. We always say to staff, you should never say, you can say, I don't know, and I'll get back to you, but never say, oh, there's no hope for you. There's always a solution that we can work towards to improve someone's life. So I think that connecting through the resource line. And then we had not really engaged digitally with people. We did some social media. I do want to shout out Senior Ride social media is very excellent, and we are working on ours. We also, though, did realize that through a virtual platform, we could reach additional people, but that also meant that we had to dig into what are the barriers for older adults reaching us in that way. And through looking at those barriers, I think the community has come together, and there are some opportunities and a larger discussion around the fact that isolation is a reality for older adults. COVID really heightened the awareness of that, but even if we return to the before times completely, there are still older adults who are very isolated, and that technology is an avenue to increase connection, not the only avenue, but there's a lot that we can do collectively as a community to look at digital engagement. So we are really looking at that. Another thing we're looking at, when we reopened our adult day service program, it was very clear that caregiver burden during COVID was very, very difficult. And it did help people, I think, to realize that there were some other resources out there for them. So we have seen the interest in that adult day program really grow, and we're looking at how we might be able to expand that program to serve additional families. So you're very right, Heather. There are definitely silver linings and things that we can continue to expand upon.
Thank you. Thank you. And Debbie, what about Meals on Wheels? What are some of the silver linings that you've seen?
Well, I think some of the silver linings, we've had to learn to think more outside the box. We've become much better at that. I mean, just delivering food to homebound, we developed a system that we could actually still deliver food without having any contact with our elderly. Also, the seniors who had been very active come into local senior centers. We got a grant that we could actually do temporary home-delivered meals to them. So even though they could not come to the closed senior centers anymore, we would at least have someone drop it into their home and bring in a hot lunch. So that was huge, because I think especially seniors who have been so active, and then all of a sudden just to have to go home and stay there, that it was very hard for them. Depression became a mounting problem. A lot of the seniors in our areas do not have access to any kind of internet. They could not Facebook. They could not text, because they did not have those skills and those services available. So I think those were some of the things that were silver linings. I think what we're seeing now is we're opening up more. Our senior centers are beginning to reopen, and people are getting out more. And I think some of the things that I've seen lately, some of the seniors who had been active and then we delivered meals to them have started volunteering. So I think by getting those home-delivered services, they've understood the importance of that to their peer group. And so now they're coming out and helping more. And that has been wonderful. And some of the ones that have signed up to volunteer have said it's because that they had those meals delivered and they loved it. So they're giving back more. And I think that's one of the big changes we're going to see this year.
That is awesome. Yes. Thank you, Debbie. And then Carrie, if you'll share a little bit more about, what are some of the silver linings that Senior Ride Nashville has seen?
Sure. And I'll start by echoing comments that both Debbie and Gretchen have made. We've definitely recognized that the broader community understands social isolation so much better than we did 2 to 3 years ago. And so the support of the community, it feels like, from our perspective, has been enhanced greatly throughout the pandemic. And that includes relationship with funding partners like United Way, who have been really understanding and really, side by side with us throughout the past 2 years. Also, just the opportunity to create new relationships and new ways to meet the needs of our community through relationships with partners that we had not worked with before. Early on in the pandemic, just one example, when we were all locked down in March of 2020 for those first couple of weeks, couple of months, and we knew that services like Meals on Wheels and others, the need for food was really great, and finding those volunteers, finding the ways to get food to people, we had to find creative solutions to be able to meet that need. And so that one example, we partnered with a nonprofit in the Edge Hill community called The Store, who provided fresh food for us to pick up and deliver to our riders that were in need of food. And so there have just been lots of ways to collaborate with new partners in different ways, which has been a great reward.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all have just shared some wonderful information about your programs and services. And so I know some of our attendees might have questions, specific questions for, some of you all. So at this point, if anyone attending would like to submit a question, feel free to do so in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And we'll just take the next few minutes to see and answer those and fire those out. If anybody has any questions, feel free to submit those. I will say this while we're waiting for any questions to come in is, we thought a lot about, the youth and the kids and during pandemic and, having kids of my own and just what they kind of went through. But then, I feel like sometimes we forgot a little bit about that senior population, and I have aging parents, and luckily they're together, but it's just y'all shed a whole new light and perspective on what they went through. So thank you for that. So we have a question. if I can read all that. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Is 50Forward fresh only for Davidson County residents?
Thank you for that question. So our regular meal delivery is for Davidson County residents. As Debbie was saying, thinking outside of the box is something we've been doing a lot of. So we do have ways that people can come and pick up meals. We don't deliver regularly into the other counties, but we can work with folks around pickup of meals. We do more emergency food deliveries, so not the regular food deliveries. And I didn't mention, we do have holiday meals on Christmas and Thanksgiving, and we go a little bit wider than Davidson County, but our regular meal delivery is Davidson County for that program.
Right, thank you. And then also someone posted there, thanks to all that you do for the important work you are doing for our seniors. So thank you. Anybody else, if you have any other questions, please feel free to submit those.
While we're waiting for another question, thank you, Patty, for that comment. And I would definitely say this is work that we are doing together. Like I said in my presentation, Senior Ride Nashville wouldn't be able to execute this program without the volunteers. You saw that our fee for service is very modest, and we wouldn't be able to do this without the funders in the community as well.
Let's see, we have another one. I think, do clients have to have a social security number to qualify for your programs and services?
I could take that. They do not for 50Forward. One thing we do tell folks is we connect people to a lot of resources. So whether you have a social security number or not, we'll connect you to resources. Sometimes the resource availability is different depending on those kind of status issues. But for 50Forward direct services, you do not. And I saw Carrie.
And no, not for us. We do not ask those questions on our intakes.
Same, not required for Senior Ride.
All right. All right. So there might be some more questions that you have after today's presentations. And so each attendee will receive a follow-up email with my contact as well as the contacts of the program representatives that we've talked to today. So please feel free to follow up with them or us for any more information. We would be glad to share that with you. And again, thank you again to Debbie and Carrie and Gretchen for taking the time to be with us today. I so enjoyed, hearing from you all. And part of what I get to do is working with corporate partners and sharing y'all's programs and services. So thank you so much, especially, as we're in this virtual space. We are so grateful for the work that you've done and continue to do at the time when our community needs you now more than ever. United Way is so grateful to be a partner in and a supporter of your work. And I also want to say thank you to all the ones who attended today that joined us. Thank you for your time that you've devoted to our community and for your year-round support of United Way. This work could not happen without you. And we hope that you'll join us again for Tour Tuesday. Again, one day, hopefully we'll be in person. Information for our next tour will be posted soon on United Way's Get Involved website page. So again, thank you for joining us, and I hope y'all have a fantastic week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.